That's also the meaning of the word Ghent. Gandai in Old Celtic means where two rivers meet. Nos encontramos en el río La Lis. Gant tiene dos ríos, Lis y Escalda, y fue fundada en la confluencia de esos dos ríos. We are now entering the grain harbor. Between these two bridges, and this one and the next, the grain harbor, already operational in the 11th century, more than 1,000 years ago. And it made Ghent a really rich city, but I mean stinking rich. As you can tell by the architecture, this was a powerful city in the Middle Ages. The wealth came from the staple rights. This was a privilege of the city where they could confiscate 25% of all goods transported here. A bit mafia style, This is ours, give us 1/4. Confiscated grain was stocked in this big grey building there on the left-hand side, the oldest one of the port of the 13th century, and was then afterwards sold to local bakers and brewers to make lovely Belgian beer, of course. Right next to it, you see a small, cute house, one of the smallest of Ghent, the one with the blue windows from the 17th century. The function was not so cute, This was a toll house, that's where you had to pay your taxes and where the staple right was controlled. Entonces estamos aquí en el puerto de cereal. Hecho de Gant, una ciudad muy rica en los años medievales, gracias a un derecho que tenían de poder confiscar el 25% de todo lo que se transportaba por aquí. Los cereales estaban estocados ahí en el edificio grande gris y después vendidos a los panaderos y a los cerveceros. Esa es la gran iglesia aquí que le falta en la cima. Es la iglesia de San Miguel, la iglesia del gremio de los cerveceros, y tampoco es casualidad que la cerveza española San Miguel se llama así porque es el santo patrón de los cerveceros. So here to the left, behind this corner, we will see the most iconic view of the city. Our skyline, the three towers of Ghent. The furthest one is the St. Bavo's Cathedral. The central one is not a church, it's a bell tower and watchtower. The belfry has a golden dragon on top which protects the city. The dragon is really lousy at its job, by the way, because this city has been overtaken by almost everyone in the course of history. And then the front church is the St. Nicholas Church, the oldest one of the three of the 13th century. Las tres torres de Gante, la vista más icónica de Gante. La catedral, la torre campanaria y la iglesia de San Nicolás. Over there to the right, just before the bridge, a big grey evil looking building was a Dominican monastery built in the 13th century. Was a house of God, this kind of primitive hospital where they would take care of the sick and the poor. In the 16th century it was raided by Calvinists. In the iconoclasm of the 16th century, they just destroyed everything, and worst of all, the whole library. More than 30,000 books, all handwritten, unique documents, were thrown in the river out of these windows, and all that knowledge was lost in one day. They even say that day you could cross the river without getting your feet wet. El viejo monasterio dominicano, siglo XIII. En el siglo XVI, durante los iconoclasmos, los calvinistas han entrado y han destruido todo, también la biblioteca entera. Más de 30.000 libros fueron tirados por esas ventanas al río. In front of us, the St. Michael's Bridge. You You can see a little statue of the archangel killing the dragon with a sword in the middle of it, where the bus just drives by. And behind it, the post office. Both built in 1910. This is not so old. It's not medieval architecture. Puente de San Miguel, con una pequeña estatua del arcángel. Y el viejo edificio de correos, ambos construidos en 1910. No es arquitectura medieval. So we're going back into the grain harbor. Most of the houses in the grain harbor are guild houses. Now a guild in the Middle Ages was this kind of syndicate, this kind of lobby that would protect the rights and privileges of people with the same profession. And of course, the more powerful the guild, the more beautiful their guild house. Lots of symbolism in the facades as well. People couldn't read in the Middle Ages, so visual communication was done through symbols and images. La mayoría de las casas aquí en el puerto son casas de gremios. Cuanto más poderoso el gremio, más bonita su casa. Here to the right, we see the building with the wooden door. It has a sculpture of a boat on top. Also anchors higher up in the facade. This was the guild house of the free boatsmen, la casa de gremio de los navegantes libres. These were boatsmen that could work freely in Ghent, the local boatsmen. And there in front of us, the beige building also has anchors in the facade. Also has a golden boat on top, but it's a wind vane, so we don't have the good perspective now to see it. That was the guild house of the unfree boatsmen. They did not have the right or privilege to work in the city unless they paid a high tax, of course. Hay la casa de gremio de los navegantes no libres, no francos. Ellos no tenían derecho ni el privilegio de trabajar en la ciudad, a menos que pagaban un gran impuesto. Two houses to the left, a nice story about medieval symbolism. We see two golden swans on the facade. Now in medieval symbolism, swans that look at each other represent eternal love, because their necks form the shape of a heart. But these look away from each other, so no eternal love. Temporary love. This was the harbor brothel in the 17th century. Today the Marriott's most expensive hotel of Ghent. La historia de las dos cisnes, el simbolismo medieval, dos cisnes que se miran significan amor eterno, pero se alejan, así que no amor eterno, pero amor temporal. Esto fue la casa de prostitución del puerto en el siglo XVII. And here to the left we see a small green wooden house. That's where you can buy boat tickets. I'm a dad, so yeah, lots of dad jokes. In front of us, the old fish market or fish mine from the 17th century. If you look carefully, you can see a golden trident popping up over the roof there. That's Neptune's trident, and there's a statue of him above the main entrance on the other side of the building. El mercado de pescado, siglo XVII. Y vemos ahí el tridente dorado de Neptuno. Hay una estatua de él encima de la puerta de entrada principal al otro lado del edificio. Y aquí el viejo mercado de carne del siglo XV. Bastante más viejo que este. Solo aquí en los años medievales se podía comprar carne. No había, ¿cómo se dice?, carnicerías en casas privadas. Eso era para controlar la calidad y los precios. The great meat hall of Ghent in urgent need of restoration, as you can see. It had three parts. The back part with the bigger windows, that was a chapel. That's where the butchers would pray before going to work. The center part was the market hall, and the front part here was the slaughterhouse. There to the left, behind the ice cream cone, we see a light grey building and it has three little statues on top of the main entrance. If you can see it, I'm now right behind the lantern pole. The center statue is our own mannequin piss. Not only Brussels has one, Ghent has one too. Nuestro propio mannequin piss ahí. Y abre la puerta del edificio blanco. No era raro de ver estatuas de niños y niñas meando en los años medievales, porque era la mascota de los peleteros. So this one doesn't pee, the one in Brussels pees, this one not, maybe has a slight prostate problem or so. But it was not weird to see statues of peeing boys and girls in the Middle Ages in the cities of Flanders, because it was the mascot of the Tanners Guild, people that work leather. Tanners need ammonia to make the leather soft, and ammonia is found in urine, especially child's urine, because once you start drinking alcohol, your ammonia level drops. And because we're all drunkards here, they chose the mascot, a peeing child. Poor children would actually go and sell their urine to the Tanners Guild to earn a bit of extra money. Now there was always smart boys who would mix it with water from the river to earn more money. So a new profession had to be invented. Urine tasters, absolutely disgusting. Now these urine tasters really started loving the taste of it, so they went to Holland and brewed Heineken. Stupid joke, of course, but the urine tasters thing is true though. And here to the left, behind the corner, we will see the Great Cannon of Ghent, el Gran Cañón de Gant, Margareta la Loca, se llama. Mad Margaret. At the time it was the biggest cannon in the world. It was used to defend ourselves from the invasion of the princes of Burgundy, but we ended up under their rule, so obviously we lost that war. And maybe that's because the cannon never worked, and it was fired only once, and the cannonball just rolled out. Solo utilizaron una vez el cañón, pero no funcionaba. La bala simplemente se cayó al suelo. And here to the left, passing this bridge, we see that the architecture changes. This is not medieval architecture anymore. We see brick walls, chimneys. These were the first factories in the city in the Industrial Revolution. Mostly textile. Ghent was really known for its textile. And after the grain in the Middle Ages, Ghent became rich again because of textile. Of course, this wealth was not for everyone. It was mostly stuck to the fingers of the factory owners. And working class lived in horrible conditions. 14-hour working days, child labor, no safety or security regulations whatsoever, and at the end of the day, just enough money to buy food for that day. This life without perspective made people to organize them, and it is also no surprise that in this neighborhood we found the cradle of Flemish socialism. Las primeras fábricas de la ciudad, sobre todo textil, en la revolución industrial, que ha hecho muy rico a los propietarios, pero los obreros vivían en situaciones muy malas, infrahumanas casi, y por lo tanto tampoco es una sorpresa que en este barrio encontramos la cuna del movimiento del socialismo flamenco. Ghent was actually the second industrialized city in the world after Manchester. In Manchester they invented a weaving machine on steam, and they could make textiles 300 times faster than by hand, but they were really secretive about it. Some people from Ghent went there, set up a fake company, and asked spare parts of this machine all the time. After 7 years they had enough parts to make their own machine. They smuggled it here, bribed some engineers to come, and this is how the Industrial Revolution started here. And so you see that industrial espionage is as old as industry itself. Aquí, detrás de esos edificios y enfrente del Gran Cañón tenemos el mercado del viernes, y obviamente todos los viernes hay mercado, pero eso ya se hace desde el siglo XIII, ininterrumpidamente, y en las grandes guerras y en la crisis de Corona se ha anulado, y eso es una tradición, una bonita tradición de más de 800 años. Let me hand out some umbrellas. Careful under the bridges with the umbrellas. If you look between those buildings where the tram drives by, there's a small square and it has a black lantern pole with two glass lanterns in it. Really cute story of Ghent. That lantern pole is connected to the 4 hospitals of Ghent, and whenever a child is born they press a button and the lights flicker. No. Cute story, huh? Also very practical. You don't need to be with your wife when she's in labor. You can just have a beer on the terrace and go have a look when the lights go on. Yeah, on the right is white building with a triangle in the roof in the Rococo style. That was the guild house of the wine merchants, mostly wine from France. They made doors in the quay wall, so they could actually roll the barrels directly into the cellars, and it was not only practical, but also they could escape the all-seeing eye of the tax inspectors who were walking on the street. Do some smuggling some contraband. And tax evasion is, together with beer and chocolate, one of Belgium's finest specialties. La casa de gremio de los vendedores de vino. Tenían puertas aquí, en el muro, y así podían meter los barriles directamente en los sótanos sin ser visto por los inspectores de Hacienda y hacer un poco de contrabanda, un poco de evasión de impuestos. We're still on the River Lys, but we're going to make a right turn here behind the fish market onto the Lieve Canal. Now, Lieve is a really sweet word in Dutch. It means something like dear or darling or sweet, and it suits the canal. The name suits the canal because it's a really romantic area. And the canal was dug by hand in the 13th century, and it connected Ghent with the North Sea, making Ghent a seaport, and that of course was excellent for business. Entramos en el canal de la Lieve del siglo XIII, que conectaba Gant con el Mar del Norte, así haciendo de Gant un puerto marítimo, y eso era muy bueno para los negocios y ha hecho de Gant la ciudad más rica aún. And here to the right, the coolest building of Ghent, the castle of the Counts of Flanders, El Castillo de los Condes de Flandes.
Thank you.
It was built in 1180 by Philip from Alsatia. He was a crusader. When he came back from Jerusalem with a big bag of stolen money, he built this as residence. Afterwards abandoned, it had many other uses like a jail, a court of justice, and even a textile factory in the Industrial Revolution. Construido en el año 1180 por Felipe de Alsacia como residencia de los condes de Flandes. En el siglo XIV fue abandonado y ha hecho tenido muchos otros usos como una prisión, un palacio de justicia y mismo una fábrica de textil. Okay, here to the left we see what was the second port of Ghent in the Middle Ages, specialized in wine coming from France and fish from the North Sea. Aquí se encontraba el segundo puerto de Gant, aquí a la izquierda, especializado en vino que venía de Francia y pescado del Mar del Norte. Today, as you can see, one of the most romantic places of Ghent. You'll often find couples here on a date, and they say that if you kiss under these weeping willows, your love will be everlasting. I myself have tried this many times. Oh, very friendly. Charles V yet, one of the most powerful men who ever lived, Emperor Charles V, the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, the empire where the sun never set, that this was not an exaggeration, it was all around the globe, most of Europe, most of South America, parts of Asia and Philippines. He was born here. This whole neighborhood was one big palace called the Court of Princes, the Court of Princes of Burgundy. And this is where Emperor Charles V was born. Almost nothing is left of this once huge and luxurious palace. Most of it was demolished in the Industrial Revolution to make place for factories and warehouses. Aquí nació el emperador Carlos, Carlos I para los españoles, para nosotros Carlos V. Había aquí un gran palacio, todo este barrio era este palacio, de hecho, pero ya no queda casi nada. Fue demolido para hacer sitio para fábricas y almacenes en la revolución industrial. Where the city wall crossed the canal. That was the end of the inner city. And that was a fortified water lock. By opening the compartment doors, it could flood a big terrain of more than 15 square kilometers on the other side of the city wall, and so avoid attacks from enemies. Prende nosotros el rabot del siglo XV, una esclusa fortificada. Abriendo la esclusa podían inundar un gran terreno de más de 15 kilómetros cuadrados al otro lado de la muralla de la ciudad. Maximilian I of Austria, from the House of Habsburg, tried to invade Ghent from that side of the city. So the Prince of Burgundy, who were our rulers then, ordered the compartment doors to be opened. And Maximilian was standing there with his army deep in the water and in the mud. They had outbreaks of cholera and they had to go back home. This weather is really shitty. It should stop soon though. I looked it up in the app and the app is a bit to be trusted. It won't last too long. But Maximilian was stubborn. He wanted Ghent and was so powerful. So he married Princess Marie of Burgundy. And that's how the families of Habsburg and of Burgundy fused into one, and it's also the beginning of this huge empire, and it starts the story of Charles V as well. Swim in it. When I was a kid, it was very dim. Yeah, it stank. But in the Middle Ages, this was absolutely horrible. They had a huge drinking water problem, so people drank beer. And only beer. It was only through the brewing process that it could be filtered and made drinkable. Was very strong beer at like 1% alcohol or so, but still this explains where our rich beer culture comes from and why the Brewers Guild was so powerful. Boatsmen could go inside, just roll the barrels on the boat and buy it without paying taxes. So unwillingly they invested in one factory shopping. Este es el monasterio agustino. Hacían cerveza, los agustinos, pero para venderlo en la ciudad tenía que pagar impuestos a la ciudad. Todo lo que se vendía dentro de los muros del monasterio, ahí la ciudad no tenía nada que decir y ahí no tenía que pagar impuestos, así que directamente hicieron un túnel del canal a los sótanos del monasterio donde se hacía la cerveza. Se podía entrar con barco y cargar los barcos, muchas veces sin tener que pagar impuestos, y así inventaron sin querer el tax free shopping, el duty free shopping. That building over there is actually the side facade of the fish market. Now you see again this medieval symbolism with sculpture of sea creatures, and above the windows 4 gargoyles. In front of us, yellow facade, is the last standing wooden house of the city of the Middle Ages. There have been too many fires, the emperor decreed that no more wooden buildings could be built, and this is the last one. Aquí a la derecha, la fachada amarilla, la última casa de madera de los años medievales aquí en Gant. Había demasiados incendios y el emperador decía que en 1939 una familia más de madera había habido demasiados incendios. Esa es la última casa de madera de la ciudad del siglo XX. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we're almost back here. We're a little soaking with adventure started. I hope you learned something about prostitution, alcoholism, incest, and tax evasion. But I especially hope you kind of enjoyed it. And I wish you a very pleasant afternoon. Thank you. Ya estamos casi de vuelta donde empezó nuestra aventura mojada. Espero que habéis sentido algo. Espero sobre todo que os haya gustado, aunque duele mucho. Y os deseo una agradable tarde. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Gracias. Yes. Bring this back in a second. That's fine. Yeah. Thank you. With the kids, the safety first. Bye-bye. So much. Bye-bye. Thank you. Yes. Hasta luego. Gracias.
Gracias.
Gracias. Hasta luego.
Gracias. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Si lo entrego así, ¿para qué lo entregan?
Bye bye everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you think it's worth the €10 I paid. Bye.